Well, I started when the day the video went viral, I had 3,000 followers and now I have almost 300,000. So I don't know. I've had
Well,
some
that
other
answered
videos.
it.
I've had some other videos do well. I don't think it was all thanks to that one video. But it's been a wild week. Moving, music, just graduated from college.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. Well, I haven't walked yet, but I'm done. So
That's all
yeah.
that matters.
Yeah. What
I did
about
the
you?
same thing. When I'm much older than you, but when I graduated like in December. So like I had to wait till the summer to officially walk and receive the piece of paper that I never have ever had to show anyone in my entire life.
Exactly. Like, yeah, what were those thousands of dollars for?
Right,
Not
exactly.
sure.
Are you going to college or were you, I should say, going to college in LA?
Yeah. So I went to USC.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, I actually came in as like a theater major and a journalism major. So I was doing a ton of like writing and acting and like wanted to do that whole thing. And I'd always done music. And then I was like, why am I doing this? My parents were super academic and they were like, get a real degree. And I was like, why? And so then I eventually changed and like changed my whole major and I ended up studying like narrative studies, which is basically like the study of storytelling and like I emphasize in songwriting. So I did like my thesis in songwriting, I like minored in songwriting and like, yeah. So I kind of ended up like making my own major, which was really cool and got in with all the music kids. And so, yeah, it's been fun.
That's awesome. I mean, right. Storytelling is essentially songwriting. So if you're learning the craft or, building your craft in college that way, obviously I would imagine it translates over to your lyric writing.
Yes, completely. I did basically my whole thesis was about like pop lyricism and like pop hooks. So it was cool. It's kind of been like the perfect little, very complimentary of like what I'm actually doing in real life.
That's awesome. That is awesome. You said your
Yeah.
parents were academic. Where were you born and raised?
So I was born, I've actually kind of lived all over the place. So I was born in Miami and then I moved to Phoenix and then I moved to New York and then I moved back to Phoenix and then I moved to Oregon, which is where I did like my high school and my like formative years. I feel like Oregon is like my hometown.
Okay.
Um, and I grew up, so like I kind of lived everywhere because my dad works in business and would consult at different companies. And so then finally we settled down in Oregon for my middle school and high school years. And it's like a really small town. I don't know if you're familiar. Bend. Have you ever heard of Bend?
Yeah. I just know that what's the beer out of Bend, Oregon? There's
Oh,
a brewery there, right?
so many. Like, yeah.
I don't remember. I don't drink anymore, but when I used to drink, I remember buying a beer from there that was not from there, but it said Bend, Oregon. That's the only reason why I knew about it.
Yeah, like Deschutes or something. Yeah.
Deschutes. Yeah, it was Deschutes. There you go.
So it's like a super small mountain town, super wholesome, very much just basically the opposite of LA. And so I knew I wanted to move to LA or New York, like post high school. And so coming to LA was kind of a bit of a culture shock just because I was really used to being a big fish in a really small pond. And here I'm a little fish in a really big ocean. So
Sure. Well, you lived in New York. How old are you when you lived in New York? Or do
I
you
was
even remember that?
really young. Yeah. So I
Okay.
was like kindergarten, like 3 to 6. And I mean, it was amazing. And we still have like some friends and connects in New York and we've been there a lot and traveled there. But I would say like all the years that were really formative were in just like a really small town.
In small town. Okay. Yeah. I was wondering because I mean, New York is even bigger than LA as far as population goes.
Totally. Yeah.
All right. So how did you get into music?
How did I get into music? So no one in my family is musical, in my immediate family at all. So my grandma, she was a pianist, and my uncle is kind of a musician. So everyone,
Same side of the family?
different sides.
Oh,
And
interesting.
everyone was a bit confused. But my parents, like just from when I was a kid, I was always singing and doing stuff around the house, and they put me in musical theater, just as like an after school activity. And I really ran with that. When I was like 7 years old, I started writing like original plays. Like it was
Wow.
really weird. We were just talking about it the other night. My mom was like, it was kind of odd. Like you would write these like really long, like 70-page works.
Oh, so you would write it out. It wasn't even just like, okay, we're in like you have your group of friends together and you're kind of improvising. You actually like wrote out like a full-on script.
Yes, wrote out a full-on script on Microsoft Word. I remember long nights in the office. I was just like, that was just weird. I was asking my mom, I was like, did you think I was like weird? And she was like, no, it's kind of interesting. But yeah, I would write these plays and then I'd cast everyone in my neighborhood to come and yeah, and I'd sing and I'd do all these things, and that kind of led me to like songwrite. And so I would write these songs. Like I didn't even really know what I was doing, but as I look back, I can clearly see kind of the arc and the transition. And
Hmm.
I've just always, I mean, since I was doing musical theater, my parents like put me in voice lessons too and piano. So I'm a classically trained pianist. I've that makes me sound like I'm like really good. I'm a little rusty, but the foundations are there.
Sure.
Um, and so I played classical piano till about 14, and I've done classical voice my whole life and did a lot of musical theater, but obviously like on my own, always like sang pop, and like I played guitar, so I always sang pop. And then in high school, I did a lot of theater too, and I like wrote my own songs and gigged a bit and all that. And yeah, the rest was kind of history. It's just kind of
Okay.
always been there, I guess.
That's cool that your parents were supportive of it enough to put you in voice lessons and piano lessons, especially you said that they have more of an academic background and be instead of being like, no, that's just, games or whatever, like really kind of they essentially pushed you into it. And then when you went to college, you're like, I want to do this. They're like, well, how about you get a degree?
That was my same thought process. No, they were so supportive my whole life as a kid. And really like, I mean, they would take me to see like Broadway shows and Taylor Swift and like all that
I
stuff.
love Taylor Swift. She's one of my favorites.
She's everything to me. I am obsessed with her.
I was were you going to go see her at Loverfest?
I wasn't actually,
Oh,
but it's because just I was a poor college kid and I
right.
couldn't afford it.
I moved to Nashville recently, within the past year, but I'm originally from San Diego, and I was so excited. I'm like, I got tickets. I waited, like my wife and I were like on this, like the browser, like waiting for your turn to buy tickets for literally 4 hours. Just like had it open, just doing other things.
Wow.
Let us in, bought the tickets, super excited. It was the opening of SoFi Stadium. She's going to be the first thing to ever happen there. Grew up as a Chargers fan. Unfortunately, I don't like them anymore because they left us. But anyway, so excited. And then obviously the pandemic happens and she hasn't done anything as far as rescheduling. What's going on? I don't understand. But
I
I was bummed.
I think that she is going to do like a holistic tour, like a tour where she does something from every album. Like that's just what I'm thinking is going to happen. Cause I don't know. Did you like Evermore and Folklore? Did you listen to
I think
them?
those are the two best records she's ever written, to be honest.
I love them. So I would love to see them live, but I don't know how they translate to a full stadium audience really.
Yeah, it doesn't really it's so opposite of her, real big pop records that it'd be hard to translate that to the Rose Bowl where I saw her last time. You know what I mean?
Totally. But I think so. I think that I could see her doing something where she kind of does a piece of each, especially with all the re-releases and all that stuff. I feel like
Oh
she's
yeah, with all her Taylor versions and all that stuff.
yeah. Yeah.
Good call. Yeah, that would be interesting. I would love. What if she did like a theater tour? And that'd be insane. Anyway.
I'd freak out. I know she could do like a residency. I know. I am her biggest fan. I mean, really musically, she is my biggest inspiration. I tell people all the time, and not even just because it's like, okay, Taylor Swift, and I'm just like your average girl. She really, I think a lot of people my age who are fans of her had a really unique experience where they really grew up with her. Every
Mhm.
album that she released narrated some part of my life. And I remember it so distinctly. And it felt like I was living in my own coming of age movie every time she released something. Like I remember when Speak Now came out, I was 11. I remember when Red came out, I was in 8th grade. And I just remember it all too
All
well.
too well.
Yeah. um, no, I just remember it so vividly. And when I was when I was my freshman year of college and Reputation came out, and it was all about, it just felt we were having parallel experiences my whole life. And she really taught me. I was speaking to one of my songwriter friends the other day, and who's also a big Taylor fan. And we were like, there is no songwriting class like listening to Taylor Swift.
Mhm.
She taught me, like, she taught songwriters, like, lyricism and storytelling and hook writing and amazing melodies. And she's just, I mean, she's the best. So if I could ever meet anyone, it would be
It'd be
Taylor.
her. I Yeah, that would be quite the experience to meet her. And I've only heard that she's like the sweetest person on earth.
Yeah.
I came from radio, and I was on alternative radio, but there was a top 40 pop station in our building. They did a thing with her. I begged and pleaded. They only sent like the program director and one other person to meet her. But they brought me back like a signed picture, and it said like to Adam from her. So she signed a photo. And not only did she do that, she hand wrote letters back to the two people from my building that went and saw her. And they were so detailed that it was like, I loved hearing about your niece that's into music and blah. Like, it's almost like she meets people and then immediately goes back and goes, okay, I'm gonna like write a thoughtful card and then send it, and like mailed it. It was I was shocked. I was like, wow, like what artist would ever do this? It's usually like some typed piece of paper from their publicist that just, goes off to whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, insanity. So I would love to meet her as well. Anyway.
Yeah.
But that's so cool that you got to you grow up with her songwriting and kind of evolve as she did in her career. One of the few artists that was able to kind of get out of pop country back and then into pop music as well as she was able to transition into it.
Totally. Yeah. She is the queen of genre bending. And I mean, she's really everything that I would kind of aspire to be, only because I'm not a huge country fan. I mean, I respect it and I think it's awesome music, but I'm not a huge country music listener. So not so much that, but just her ability. I mean, she's won album of the year in 3 different genres, which is crazy. And for me, like I'm writing a lot of pop music now. The song I just released last week is very pop. And I originally
it's a great song. I want to talk to you about it, obviously.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm writing a lot of pop, but like my like cathartic writing that I do for myself is like folk. Like I sit with my guitar or I sit with my piano and I don't care about the pop hook and I don't care about any of that. And I just write. And it's very interesting because she did a really similar thing with folklore. And once again, it was like this weird parallel. Like at that time when I was realizing like, okay, the music I write for me, Sam Short, the brand and the persona, it's not that it's any less true to me. It's just like, it's work, you know what I mean? And writing a great song is hard. It's not all just like feeling based and everything. Of course it's feeling based, but it's like intentional and it's stuff that I want other people to also resonate with and melodies that I want people to be able to sing back. And the stuff that I write for when I'm crying at the piano last night is just like very folklore evermore. So yeah.
Okay. You said when you were in high school, I believe, or middle school, you were writing songs and gigging a bit.
Yeah. I started writing songs. I think I wrote my first song when I was like 7, but really my whole life, I would say 5th or 6th grade, I was writing. And I have all these journals that just from my entire life. And I was going back to them just because they're funny. And, I'd have my chords and it'd be like C, G, A minor, just like the most basic chords ever. But I was actually singing them the other day and I was playing them for my manager and she was like, these actually aren't bad. Like some of these hooks are actually kind of good. So I feel like the songwriting bug bit me when I was young and it just never stopped. I mean, yeah, I have tens and tens of journals. I basically wanted to be Taylor Swift. That's what I was.
What did those songs sound like? Were they more folk forward, or were you trying to write like big pop hits?
Kind of both, like kind of folk pop, honestly. I mean, okay, and I'm being generous by saying folk. I think that because I write a lot of pop music, there's always kind of a pop hook in there. But they were kind of both. I mean, they were really deep. Like I was like, whoa, 7th grade must have been intense because this shit is kind of dark.
Sure.
But yeah, so yeah, I mean, it was kind of a mixture of both. And I think it's interesting to see like the sonic phases that I went through. Like when I was in high school and I was angsty, like wearing Doc Martens, listening to Arctic Monkeys, I was writing that kind of stuff. And I was writing really dark, kind of almost experimental, alt indie stuff. And I think now my sound it's interesting because as a writer, as a songwriter for other people, I write R&B, sometimes I write hip hop, sometimes I write pop. But as I've been focusing more on my artistry, like figuring out, I feel what's really common right now is like indie alternative music and like being left of center and finding that. And something I've discovered is like, okay, but who's in the mainstream? Like who wants to be a pop star? And I was like, I do. Like, I really like writing pop music and I really like, I don't know, there's something about making your personal experiences universal moments that I think is so cool. And I think pop music has such a unique ability to do that. It's like songs that heal the masses, like that's powerful. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And so I think in my artist project, I'm really trying to do that and kind of like start the new pop revolution and like figure out what that's going to be.
Well, I feel like people are obviously relating to the song since it did so well. I mean, especially like on TikTok and everything. And we'll talk about how that. I'm curious to how that all kind of started. But I mean, people. I've heard it so many times from just people that don't write music or whatever, just like, oh, it's so easy to write a pop song. I could do this. Like, can't do it then. Like, it's so hard to write lyrics that are so obvious to everyone else, right? I think, and it's just such a skill that if it was so easy, then it wouldn't be, so powerful to everyone else.
Totally. I agree. I actually think that writing pop is the hardest genre for me personally to write because when I, like I said, yeah, when I'm writing folk or when I'm writing kind of indie stuff or when I'm just writing for me, there aren't that many boundaries and I feel like less confined and I'm just kind of like doing it and the melodies don't have to be super catchy. And not to say that you need to be confined in pop, but for the top 40 songs that you're hearing on the radio, there's a method to the madness. Like
Mm-hmm.
these melodies, whether you know it or not, they are thought out, they are intentional, like every lyric relates back to the hook. Like it is a puzzle, but that's the fun thing about writing pop is it feels like a big game. Like
Mm-hmm.
once everything locks in, you have that feeling. And I agree. I think if anything, a lot of my other music, this song, I think it was some of my most simple lyrics. And I wrote the song in 45 minutes, didn't really think twice about it. Like I knew I felt something. It's actually interesting because I never really take videos in my sessions just because I was doing a lot of stuff as a writer. So I wasn't thinking like artist promo or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But this song, I like have a bunch of footage from, like I have a bunch of voice and a bunch of footage and like a bunch of like me and my producer being like, oh my God, this song is so like, there's something about it. But I didn't really think twice about the writing process. Like it just came out so quick. And I was like, okay, this song's great. Listen to it the next day. It was great. And it wasn't really until I sent it to my high school best friends and I send them all my music. And one of them who is not in music at all was like, dude, this song is like a hit. Like you need to put it on TikTok. And I had been doing TikTok stuff, but I hadn't teased a ton of my own demos. And like done little piano, guitar stuff. And she was like, no, like mark my words, this song's gonna blow up. And I was like, okay, like here we go. And the way that the song blew up was super unconventional. Typically, like other videos that I've had that have done well, typically within the day or two, like you start seeing traction. This
Mm-hmm.
song saw no traction for like 5 days. I'm talking like none, like 200 views, nothing. One of my worst videos, actually, like to date.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so it was really weird. And it was interesting because that the week before I had been in this weird crisis where I felt like I was writing a lot for pitch and I was writing a lot for other people. And I just felt so like burnt out. I was like, I'm done with this and I'm done with writing these songs. I was like, I'm writing these songs that I actually think aren't bad that nobody is picking up. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
this is so frustrating. And I said, I like spoke it into his existence. I was like, okay, if this song does well on TikTok, that's going to be my artist project. Like, this is it. Like, this is the beginning. Literally, I said that 4 or 5 days later, it randomly starts going viral out of nowhere. It was so weird.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
weird too, because I'm not super hip to TikTok. Like I know what it is and I use it very, very infrequently, but basically it has everything can have potential to land on the For You page, right? And if it does, then people see it and then they share it and like it and comment or whatever. How does something from, now you're at like what, 10 days out, or 5 days out, get, does it come back onto the page? Like that seems
No,
like the algorithm was I don't know. It's weird.
I don't know. It was the weirdest thing. And that's what I was thinking too. Actually, it's so funny. I made a video and I posted it on my close friend's Instagram of me making fun of myself like the third day. And I was like, just want to let you know, I posted my first demo on TikTok and it has 200 views. So like, that's how my life's going. And it was so weird. And then it started picking up and like getting traction and resonating with a lot of people. And I was like, whoa, this just feels like a weird fate thing. And it was very odd. And I had originally written the song as a pitch song. My best friend who I live with, one of my best friends, she had gone through a really tumultuous breakup, just like a super, just really bad breakup.
Mm-hmm.
And we had just had a conversation about it kind of recently before. And then the producer I was working with, who's my like go-to producer, one of my good friends as well, he was also going through a really tough breakup. And so we were writing a pitch song, and we were like, okay, clearly we have to write about breakups because like they're everywhere right now. And like, we just feel that. And his one kind of his one kind of intention, he was like, okay, Sam, we need to write a breakup song that is a breakup song, but is liberating and not sad. He's like, because I can't produce a song for 8 hours after you leave that is sad. Like, I am too sad to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, so a breakup song that's not sad. I was like, how do we even do that? I was like, let's figure
Right.
it out. And so that's kind of where this concept of being like already mine, like being yours already, kind of came from. And when we did it, when we like kind of finally put the puzzle pieces together and like heard the last demo, we were like, oh wait, this is like kind of cool. Like, this is kind of a cool take on a breakup. Like, nobody's really done that before, being like, actually, like, I'm fine with this breakup because
Mm-hmm.
I have myself, and that's actually all that I really need. So it was kind of a cool, like, now that I look back, like everything that kind of led to this moment all makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You were talking about writing for pitch. Was that something that you were trying to do instead of, like, it sounds like the artist project kind of just fell into your lap when the song really kind of took off, right? I mean, was the initial goal to just go, okay, I'm going to write a bunch of songs. Hopefully a Taylor Swift will pick it up and want to put it on their record. Was that where you were trying to take your career originally?
Both. So I actually at the beginning of college was in a pop duo, like a pop band.
Oh, tell me
Yeah.
about the pop band.
It was called Fun Sucker. Super fun, really quirky indie pop, electro pop duo. It was super fun, just kind of wacky and different. And we wrote a lot of good songs and had a really fun time. So I was doing the artist project at the same time. And kind of as like we were slowing down on that a bit, I started full sending writing because I was like, okay, what do I really love about this process? I love performing. I've always loved performing, but I really love like building worlds and telling stories. Like, that's my like favorite thing. And so I started just dedicating a lot of time to writing for pitch because COVID hit and
Mm-hmm.
there wasn't a lot of time for us to perform anymore. And things were just kind of changing. And so we kind of just like faded out of that old band. And so it was fading out. We couldn't perform anymore. I started writing, it was in COVID, but always having an artist project was in the back of my mind because I was like, okay, I just had one and now I'm kind of losing it. And like, but who am I? And so it was interesting for me to try and figure out, like, I have a lot of demos and I write a lot of songs, but like, what's really me? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I kind of needed this moment to usher me into like finding what that is, because now that this song is done well, uh, it just has made so much more sense as to like what other songs of mine are me, you know, because they're all
Mm-hmm.
me. But now I kind of have this group of songs that I'm super excited to release in the next few months, that I feel all work together in this family that really kind of speak to who I am and also the kind of music that I want to make, and also something new that I don't think anyone's really doing in pop, which I don't think this single does. I think this single sounds like pop music today. But so we're trying to be a little bit more forward thinking and being like, okay, like, how do we start a pop revolution? So my producer and I were trying to figure that out.
So the newer songs coming out have that spin on them?
Yeah, they're different. They just have a different feel. They definitely can live in the same world as this song, in terms of like the hooks and the kind of sentiments are similar, and I think the soundscapes are similar, but some of like the production choices we're making are a little bit more experimental, and like, I don't know, it's just what I love to do, and I know Taylor likes to do this too, is just take a really classic situation or a classic phrase or whatever and just like twist it and just like
Mhm.
make it slightly different. And it was the same with Already Mine or whatever. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to do in these next few singles. And I hope people like them. I'll start teasing them on TikTok and see what the TikTok audience
Hear what
has
the
to
masses think.
say. Yeah. Yeah.
That is cool. During COVID, I mean, I'm sure that was rough, especially being in college.
Yep.
Did you have to do all your classes from the house? And Were you even, was it even the same experience with like songwriting and, you know, being in that major and now you're at home on a computer?
Yeah, it was not the same experience. It was really interesting. My freshman year of college, I also had like I had a really tough year. I got hit by a car as a pedestrian.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh, I'm so sorry.
It's totally fine, but I got hit by a car and like developed all these like weird, I had a traumatic brain injury and like all these conditions. So like my first year of college was basically me having this like health problem. And then my second year of college, the second half, COVID starts, and then we're in COVID for like a year, 2 years, forever now. And so
Right.
everything was online. And I ended up doing my last semester, which was this past semester, in person.
Hmm.
But by that time, I felt so adjusted to adult life because I was literally doing online sessions or sessions with like my close community in LA. And then I was working. And then my online classes were like the last thing I was thinking about. So I kind of feel like I like didn't even go to college. Like I'm just like, I
Okay.
don't remember. I don't even really know what it was. So I'm kind of, I loved USC and I'm really thankful for the network it provided me, but I'm kind of happy it's over.
Right on. And so this is the next phase of just focusing on this project you have, your artist project.
Yes, doing the artist project. Taking a step away from pitch. I think it's hard when you write a lot of songs because then you do get caught up in that what's me and what's for someone else. And a lot of things can get really messy, especially when you're writing with writers and producers who are like, okay, well, we want to pitch this to blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, but then it can sit on hold for 6 months and no one gets it. And like,
Mm-hmm.
could I use it? It's like, it just gets a little messy. So focusing on the artist project right now, which has been crazy. Like this week has been like wild, like like the most wild week of my life. So I'm really grateful, and it'll be interesting to see what pans out and kind of what we end up like deciding to do to move forward with the project.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how much I can say, but yeah, I think, I don't know, ideally, like of course I want to be releasing these next few songs and doing all that, but what I really want to do, and like obviously I need to develop the fan base and the support to do so, is like making an album and like really diving into that and finding, collaborators that really want to like I said, build a world and like tell a story. Like I feel like what I really don't want to be is just a disposable artist who had a single do well on TikTok and then you never hear about it again. Like I
Mm-hmm.
really want to use this opportunity, because it is an opportunity, as a catalyst to really launch something that, means something.
Mm-hmm. Is that a worry? I would imagine that it has to be some sort of worry there. Like, okay, I had this big hit and now I've got to like follow it up. Are people gonna care? Is it gonna, yeah.
Yeah, I can't really sleep at night.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, it's when it started happening, like and it's getting millions and millions of views. Like, is your following, or like, I mean, does your followers go up? Like, what is the direct, kind of correlation to having that, like having a viral song like that?
Yeah. Well, I started when the day the video went viral, I had 3,000 followers and now I have almost 300,000. So I don't know. I've had
Well,
some
that
other
answered
videos.
it.
I've had some other videos do well. I don't think it was all thanks to that one video. But yeah, so yeah, that has been crazy. But yeah, I mean, it makes you a little bit scared. And what's funny is everybody villainizes TikTok so much, but one hit wonders have been around forever. That's
Oh
been
yeah,
that's
it's a
not a
thing.
new thing. So
No.
like, but I think a lot of people like to be like, oh, on TikTok, it's just these, these artists who whatever, and they just drop these songs and whatever. But I think what a lot of people don't realize is most people that are leaking demos on TikTok, that's not a mistake. There's a lot of intention behind that,
Mm-hmm.
and teams, and there's a thought process. And so I want to make it clear that, you know, I'm kind of here for the long haul, and I hope that people end up liking the other things. And it makes me nervous and it makes me worried that, oh my gosh, what if I never have any other success? But you also just have to have faith, and if they don't like it, I'll write better music.
Mm-hmm.
That'll
No,
be
and then you got to, but you also have to kind of keep up. Now now you have 300,000 followers. It's like, do you have to keep these people like wanting more? Like, is that something that instead of, okay, I don't know what you said, 3,000 or whatever followers prior to that. And it's like, is there more of a like, okay, this is more of a business now instead of just like, oh, I'll post a video today or I'll do that if I want to. But now it's like, do you feel like you would lose followers if you don't engage like on like almost a daily basis now?
Yeah, I mean, I think TikTok is a job, and I think that people really kind of like invalidate it as something real, but it's really hard. I mean, for me to sit down and make a video, a lot of times I used to rewrite pop songs in my videos. Like I would listen to a song, it would take me 30 to 45 minutes to rewrite the song, 30 minutes to memorize it, 30 minutes to video it, 30 minutes to edit it. So
Hmm.
that's 2 hours. Like that's a
Right.
long time for one video. And I'm sure you know the same with podcasts. It's like it takes a lot of time to do
Yeah,
this.
it's not just push a button and then it goes, right?
No. So I think that yes, it takes a lot of effort and also to be, I mean, these artists are essentially being asked to be content creators at the same time, which isn't
Mhm.
exactly what they signed up for, but I'm also not complaining because TikTok is essentially like a focus group at your fingertips. So it's this amazing tool and it's just finding, yes, so like engaging on a daily basis, thinking about how you can be interesting and innovative and, not piss anybody off because the TikTokers are ruthless. And I mean, they've come at me
Oh,
a few times. They've been like, no one cares about you. It's like, whoa, okay.
ouch.
Ouch. But then it's also that fine line between not compromising your artistry. And
Mhm.
that's something that I've been navigating a lot is, okay, how do I have a super honest look on TikTok that feels super me? And how do I keep everyone happy, but also not compromise my artistry and just write songs for people on TikTok? Because I think that I kind of started going down that rabbit hole. It's like, okay, what's a hook that people on TikTok would like? And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. The music has to be good. The music will speak for itself if it's good. I'm not gonna like, if I like a song and it's my song and it is me, I'm going to be releasing it. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's such a fine line. And I know a lot of artists are struggling with this right now. It's like TikTok matters, but also like true artistry really matters and what you're trying to say matters. And
Mhm.
ideally, in an ideal world, like with this song, both of those kind of merge together and resonate with a larger audience, but it's
Mhm.
not always the case. So yeah, I'm
Yeah,
really,
I would think that too when you said that you kind of have to, is this song like, are people on TikTok going to care? Like I would think that that would obviously be something that would come right to your head, like, oh, well, I have this one song, so now I got to try to make all my songs this TikToky, whatever that vibe would be. But you didn't get there by doing that,
doing
right?
that.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's so true. And that's very wise. And something that I need to remember is, yeah, I think that like that, wow, yeah, that's true. You didn't get there by doing that.
I
That's
didn't
just,
wasn't trying to be like boy, I was just like stating a fact because I mean, really, that's how I would do the same thing as you though. I would be like, whoa, this worked. Shit, like let's keep chasing this, right?
yeah.
Let's but I'm really excited to hear your new songs, to be honest. I really like the one a lot that I've heard. You've only put out the one song, right?
Yeah. Just
Okay. And
so more
when
coming.
more coming. That's awesome. I cannot wait to hear them.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for doing this. This has been awesome. I appreciate you.
No, thank you for having me. I'm super excited. It's always fun to chat with people and get to know everyone. So thank you so much for having me.
Of course. I have one more question. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Yes, I do. I do. First of all, I would say hone your skills every day. Like one thing that I think is was so important for me to do actually is have my year in lockdown doing COVID, doing sessions every day. Like
Mm-hmm.
I think my growth in the past year and like since I was a kid, but like even when you feel like you're good, you can still be better. So I think practicing every day and not just like practicing your skills or whatever, but like honing your craft, honing your skills every day. Um, Instagram is your friend. I know it sounds kind of trivial, but connect with other people on Instagram. Not just like posting on Instagram, not just going on Instagram. DM people, even big label execs that you talk to or publishers to get sessions with people or to get meetings with people. Their one thing is DM people, like DM the artists that you like. DM, go on Spotify, find the writers on their songs and DM them. You literally never know. A lot of these people don't have massive followings. And I've gotten like some of my sessions or some of my meetings from either people DMing me randomly or me being like, I love this writer. I'm just going to shoot my shot. I have a session with a writer this week that I literally admired so much just because I DM'd them, And
Wow.
so I think it's crazy because everyone says that and it's kind of scary, but I would say you utilize these tools and um, same with TikTok. And I know it's not everybody's cup of tea. And I am always the first to be like, don't compromise your artistry because I think that your artistry should speak for itself. But utilize the tools that are at your fingertips because I know if I could go back to when I was 16 in a small town in Oregon with no network and no connections, if I had TikTok or if I knew about all this stuff, like, oh my gosh, like it would be life-changing. And there are these kids that are sitting, in their bedrooms in random towns who are doing that and changing their lives, So like, I would say utilize what you have. When you think you don't have anything, you really do. It's literally on your phone. Like, I promise you do. So I would just say, yeah, hone your craft, utilize your network, and ask people for help. I think that's a big one. Asking people for help. I was really afraid to do that, but even I have like people who are messaging me now, like, hey, I'm a songwriter. I don't know how to do this. Like, how do you get your songs distributed? And then I reply and I say, oh my gosh, yeah, here's my distributor, So I think it's like, it's just making friends and utilizing your network is really important. Bringing it backward.